This is 5G Talent Talk with Carrie Charles, CEO of Broadstaff Talent Solutions. Brought to you by RCR Wireless News and Telecom Careers. Connect at carriecharles.com. And now, here's Carrie Charles.
As we speak, 5G networks are being deployed across the U.S. But there's a problem. The rollouts are being stalled by the massive shortage of workers. FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr said that the U.S. 5G rollout will require 20,000 tower technicians. And in January of this year, the U.S. Senate committee gathered to tackle this 5G dilemma, and the message was loud and clear. There is no solution in sight. There simply are not enough workers to build the infrastructure for 5G. Today I have with me Todd Schlekeway, the Executive Director of NATE, National Association of Tower Erectors. Todd attended the Senate committee hearing and is here to share his thoughts on this 5G workforce dilemma. Thanks for being with us today, Todd, on 5G Talent Talk.
It's a pleasure to join you today, Carrie. Thank you.
So, Todd, tell us more about NATE.
You bet. NATE, Carrie, is a national trade association that was founded in 1995. So we are actually celebrating this year our 25th year anniversary as an organization. And through the years, NATE has evolved as the industry's evolved. And so today we have 920 member companies from all 50 states, and then we have some members in 13 different foreign countries as well. And our primary membership category, whom the organization was founded for, are the contractor companies, Carrie, that build, deploy, maintain the macro towers, the small cell infrastructure, and anywhere, what we like to say, anywhere there's connectivity. And so you can about imagine our member companies are on the front lines anytime deployment phases happen, and they're the ones who employ the boots on the ground and in the air, so to speak, to make it happen. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
So, Todd, what are the challenges in recruiting tower techs and foremen? And let's talk a little bit about the barriers to entry as well.
Yeah, great question, Carrie. I can tell you in my job, there's not a week that goes by where I don't get a phone call or email from a company asking, Todd, do you have any ideas on how we can hire more workers? And it's a recurring theme. And when it comes to the challenges, two specific barriers to entry I will tell you right off the bat that I hear often are, you can have a prospective worker come in, a prospective technician worker come in and check all the boxes, but if they're not willing to work at elevation, work at heights, and if they're not willing to travel, oftentimes extensively, those are sometimes the two areas that seem to be the largest hurdles to bringing a new employee on as a technician. Now, with some of the changing, evolving nature of the industry, some of the work in urban areas, suburban areas, can be done in bucket trucks, in the right-of-ways. So some of that's changing a little bit. I can tell you, Carrie, that from talking to a lot of our small business owners who are members of NATE, that the heights issue and the travel issue are two barriers to entry.
So, Todd, do you think that these companies are turning away work right now because of this?
Absolutely. That's another topic that's discussed frequently in NATE meetings, and I hear that often. We just don't have the additional workforce, the additional tower crews to take on more work. We're slammed the way it is with our builds and what it's looking like moving forward. So yeah, that's absolutely the case.
So are we losing people to other industries? Is there competition for the same workers? And if so, what industries?
Yeah, I would say, Carrie, in a situation like the United States finds itself in right now, where the unemployment rate is very low, it's a very strong economy, a tight labor market. we are competing with all of the other construction trades for that same pool of workers. And, we are not general construction in our industry. We have some unique challenges. And so I would say any of the construction trades are competitors to attracting that pool of workers that is somewhat limited.
Todd, do you think that higher pay is enough to get them over to our side?
Yeah, in some cases, I think I've heard a lot of stories about, Carrie, you can start as an entry-level technician, work your way up the chain, and, a lot of these men and women can be in the six figures in relative short fashion if they're good at their job and they're skilled and they're willing to put the time in on the road and travel and work overtime. There's a lot of economic opportunity. Now, with that said, I'm not saying that our industry stacks up side by side with some of the other trades we're competing against either. We may not. I've read some reports where we're not matching some of those other industries. So that's another area that I think we need to examine further. But typically in a situation where you have a low supply and a large demand, the wages are going to rise. But we have a unique industry, as you're well aware, with the customer base being, 3 to 4 national carriers and some of the prominent vertical realtors. So, I talk to a lot of our members who really are diversifying their customer base so that they're insulated in a lot of different situations.
So I like that you said men and women. Women, is that an untapped source for companies, for recruiting? Have you heard anything about companies recruiting more women into this field?
Yeah, great question, Carrie. I can tell you that there has been an increase in even the number of women tower technicians who are coming into the industry. There's more room for growth there, but NATE several years ago started a Women of NATE program, and it started as a mentorship program to kind of pair veteran women in the industry with younger women coming in who are in our side of our niche side of the industry. And that has now grown, and the Women of NATE are really doing a good job kind of walking alongside our association's workforce development efforts. So, I think, we're seeing more women technicians, but we're also seeing, Carrie, on the contractor side, there's more and more women-owned businesses who are majority-owned, and we just elected a new woman-owned business owner from a company in Michigan to our board of directors. So that's a priority for NATE because we need to be diverse just like the country's diverse.
Definitely. The companies need, as you said earlier, Todd, they need hundreds of crews, and they're struggling daily with this challenge. Is there anything that leaders can be doing differently or better to attract and retain these tower techs?
Well, another great question, Carrie. I think, admittedly, the trade associations in this industry are really starting to gain visibility and gain a platform, NATE being one of them, and there's others as well who are doing a great job. I think the industry for far too long has not done a good enough job talking about the career pathways that exist in our industry. It's not just a job. There's a career progression there for a potential worker if they want to get into this industry. And there's so many opportunities that are out there. And I think one thing that we are working on as well is we need to do a better job of getting into the high schools and telling our industry story there. Because oftentimes when a student graduates from high school, they kind of have their plans picked out. And so I think we have a great story to tell with this industry. And everyone uses their smartphone and their iPad and all their technology. And these kids are more savvy than anyone. But we got to go in and tell that story, create marketing materials, and then we'll get into in a little bit here. I want to talk about what we're doing we need to get more programs, Carrie, at the community college technical institute levels, because what that does is those programs will then help you market your industry through their recruitment and enrollment outreach. So those are two areas I'd pinpoint: greater marketing, telling the industry story and the career pathways, and then community college technical level programs developed specifically for our industry.
And Todd, you said something brilliant, which is high schools. And I do believe that we need to start younger and younger. There's a trend now for kids not to go to college and to look at trade schools and, not get into all of this debt. So I think there's a huge opportunity at high schools as well.
I couldn't agree more, Carrie. And interestingly enough, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, whose previous background before being a United States Senator he ran a large manufacturing facility in the state of Wisconsin. He had some great comments at the hearing in late January about, we all, and he was even pointing to his colleagues in the U.S. Senate, we all need to do a better job of talking about the value in going to these schools. And oftentimes those type of schools, the community college, the technical institute programs, Carrie, their programs are aligned to the needs of the industry. And they have the ability to develop and adapt and create programs that align to the needs of the industry. And so I really appreciated his commentary during the hearing that we participated in.
You're listening to 5G Talent Talk. I'm with Todd Schlekeway, Executive Director of NATE, and we are talking about the tower tech shortage and some solutions. So, Todd, it's not just tower techs that are in demand. I read that some 800,000 small cells need to be built by 2026. This could call for as many as 100,000 new workers. So what solutions do you see here, just all across the board, to what's being called now a workforce crisis?
Great question, Carrie. The fact that a lot of the 5G is based on the small cells being deployed and on street furniture and urban cores, on street lights, on small poles, in right-of-ways. The skill sets are different too. And so, what we're finding with NATE is a lot of times you'll see our member companies in the urban and suburban areas of the country are doing both the small cell and the macro towers work, and they likely have crews that are dedicated to each. Some have crossover crews that can do both. And then our members in the more rural areas are more conventionally the macro tower-based focus. But when it comes to solutions, we are trying to do our part. And we've never had as much visibility as an industry. And, whether it's having events at the White House, the FCC commissioners, two of whom have climbed communication towers, have visited small cell sites, who are giving a platform and spotlight to this industry. I wish we had a magic wand. I'm happy that there's a lot of collaboration going on now with some of the trade organizations who are really active in this space, WIA, NATE, and some others. But it's just, I view it as an all-hands-on-deck endeavor that we all have to collectively try to solve.
So in your personal opinion, with all of this new visibility, the platform that this subject has right now, do you think that it's going to be different in a year or 18 months from now? that it's going to be better?
Yeah, I think we're going to be making inroads, Carrie. It's a long play though. I mean, this is a long game approach. I mean, we're trying to just, slowly get workers trained, get the scale, and I'll give you some examples. Nate has a board seat on the Warriors for Wireless organization, and they are now, each year they're starting to scale a little more with their graduates, and so they're off to a great start now. We have an advisory board seat on the TIRAP program, the Telecommunications Industry Registered Apprenticeship Program. They now have over 2,000 apprentices being trained in that program, and we're hoping that that's going to get to scale. And then we are really excited about a community college program that just started. It is getting ready to start in March here at Southeast Technical Institute in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That one is patterned, Carrie, after the successful program at Aiken Technical Institute in South Carolina. And there's some other programs in the early stages of development. So if you fast forward a year to 18 months, some of those programs are up and running. Hopefully it'll kind of just perpetuate, and we'll start to slowly attract more workers into the industry through those programs. So, but I guess I would say it's going to be incremental progress, and it's a long game approach that we're all playing on this.
I'm just curious, has Nate taken a look outside the U.S. at other countries, what they're doing to solve their workforce issues when it comes to building out 5G?
We not that in-depth, Carrie. We do have a really good relationship with an organization in Canada that is similar to Nate called STAC, Structures Tower Antenna Council. And we also have 24 member companies from the country of Canada. So, Canada's a different, they only have 35 million people in their country. The demographics are obviously a lot different when it comes to the geography of the country, and a large percentage of their people live within 100 miles of the U.S. border. But with that said, they don't seem to be having as many issues on the workforce side as we do. But again, that's an apples to oranges comparison. So no, we have not really done a lot of extensive research into that. I will tell you, though, that interestingly enough, on the broadcast repack work that's going on, Carrie, as a result of the incentive auction that where the wireless carriers acquired all this valuable 600 megahertz spectrum. The last 3 years or so, there's been a lot of work on the tall broadcast towers, and interestingly enough, there's crews being coming into the U.S. to help with that from Eastern Europe. And so I can give you that little anecdote as supplementing our workforce. And that's a whole other conversation, because right. the tall tower broadcast work is a different animal altogether. Those crews are specialists in what they do.
How high are those towers?
Yeah, the broadcast towers, Carrie, can range anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 feet.
Wow!
And it's just a different. It's a different skill set. Your traditional wireless technician isn't equipped to work on a broadcast tower.
Right. So, Todd, what is ahead for Nate in 2020? What new initiatives and plans do you have up your sleeve?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Carrie. Well, as long as we're talking about workforce development, I'll start with this. We hired a consultant to commission a kind of a strategic plan that would provide more focus for Nate's workforce development efforts. So we just got the plan back. Our consultant's going to be meeting with our board of directors in a couple of weeks here, presenting it, and we're hoping to implement some of the early phases of that plan. So that's kind of exciting, and we're putting our money where our mouth is there on this, and so that's exciting. A couple other things I'd like to mention. We have a federal training grant from the Department of Labor. This year's grant, we're offering free wireless rooftop deployment training in 12 cities around the country. So that's an exciting initiative that we have going. And then in May, Carrie, we're hosting our second annual DC fly-in event. So we bring members to DC and they advocate for our industry policy and legislative proposals and with their respective congressional delegations. So last year we had our inaugural event. This year we're having our second annual member fly-in. And many of the bills that we're going to be advocating for are workforce development related. So we're really trying to impact, through the grassroots process, proposals that we think would help our industry grow and flourish. And then the last item I'll mention, I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we have this Women of NATE program that's really taken off. They are hosting their first Women of NATE Leadership Summit. It's a conference in Chicago in April. So we're excited about that, creating more visibility through that as well. So it's just a busy time, as you know, Carrie, and we're excited about what's in store for 2020.
That's exciting, Todd. I know that NATE has a special conference coming up in February to celebrate 25 years, and we will be in attendance from Broadstaff. So can you tell us a little bit more about NATE Unite and also where our listeners can register? Because I know that's coming up right around the corner.
Yeah, Carrie, we're excited. So NATE Unite 2020 is our 25th anniversary conference. It's going to take place February 17th through the 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina. And many of your listeners are well aware that the Raleigh-Durham Research Triangle is really kind of a hub for our industry. There's quite a few small vertical real estate tower companies based there. There's some prominent industry engineering firms there. NC State produces a lot of graduates from their engineering program who work in our industry. So there's a lot of intellectual capital that comes out of Raleigh-Durham. And they're also doing some innovative things, by the way, on smart cities. So we're excited. I think some of the themes anyone who would attend our show will notice would be, number one, workforce development. That will be a prominent theme through some of our sessions and discussion at the show. The evolving nature of the industry will certainly be a theme. And that'll manifest itself by going to the educational sessions, walking the trade show floor, and then we always try to have our keynote speaker have a local tie to the area. And so we're excited to have Kyle Petty. He's from the first family of NASCAR, the Petty family. He has quite a story and a motivational speech that he gives. So we're excited to have him serve as a keynote. We're also going to have FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr on hand. And he's really appreciated in our industry for the visibility he's given the workforce issues. So, yeah, we're really excited about it. And anyone interested, you can still register. You can even register when the show starts. Go to our website, www.natehome.com, and you'll be able to find the NATE conference tab, and you can register exclusively online.
Todd, this has been an insightful conversation today. Thank you so much for joining us on 5G Talent Talk.
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate the visibility you're giving these issues through this podcast that you're leading. So I appreciate the opportunity. Of course.
And thank you for being with us today on 5G Talent Talk. We're sponsored by RCR Wireless News, Telecom Careers, and Broadstaff Talent Solutions. You can connect with me anytime at carriecharles.com. And please remember to subscribe to the podcast. I'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to 5G Talent Talk with Carrie Charles, CEO of Broadstaff Talent Solutions. Brought to you by RCR Wireless News and Telecom Careers. Connect with Carrie at carriecharles.com.